All right, now we're ready to top stitch. Now with the top stitching, I'm making my stitching permanent. So this time I'm going to switch my stitch length to 2.5. It is still a straight stitch. I am positioning, I'm going to position my presser foot so that I can line up this edge of the presser foot with this edge of my main body fabric, and then drop my needle, back stitch until the end of my fabric, and then as I approach my zipper, I'm just going to drop that needle into place on my fabric, lift my presser foot, and go ahead and slide my zipper tab out of the way. Just makes it a lot easier to negotiate using my presser foot. And then I reposition, drop my presser foot, and continue with my stitching. Cut any extraneous threads that we may have picked up along the way. If you get in the habit of doing this, then there's a little bit less to trim at the end of your project, and it makes it so much better just for when we're dealing with a zipper, because the last thing you want is to get threads trapped in your zipper. Now, all of these pieces are laying very nice and flat, and I've got this nice line of top stitching that's just barely visible along the edge of my zipper, and that's holding all of my layers together so that they're going to be very strong and durable. My next step is going to entail taking my next main body piece and sort of repeating these steps on the opposite side of my zipper here. So I can take and lay my main body piece face up. I'm going to take my other main body piece and I'm laying it face down. And I'm going to line up the zipper edge with the edge of my fabric. And then I am also lining up the ends of my fabric. And then I'm going to pin this into place. I'm going to open my zipper up a little more just to get the tab out of the way and help everything to lay flat at the end of my bag here. And it takes quite a bit of patience as you're dealing with all of these pinning steps. Okay, and then I am ready to stitch again. Remember that I'm going to go back to my size 4 stitch length because I'm basting my zipper into position till I know that I'm happy with where my zipper is at. Okay. Drop my presser foot. Make sure I hold on to my thread as I drop my needle into position. Remove my first pin and backstitch to the end of my fabric. And then slowly stitch forward. All right, you can see that I have reached my zipper head again. So I'm just going to lift my presser foot, try to very carefully move my zipper tab out of the way, lay things back into position, and continue my stitching. And then when I open this up, I can see my zipper on either side. So now it's time to add my next piece of lining fabric. So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to go ahead and close my zipper to help everything just lay nice and flat for me. And I'm going to position my next lining piece along that edge of my zipper here. Okay, so it's kind of like I've got my lining facing my lining, and that seems a little weird, but when I'm done sewing that, it's basically going to open up like this, and that is exactly where we want it to be. So we're going to go ahead and line that up on either end and make sure that it's lined up with the edge of my fabric and the edge of my zipper tape, and we're going to stitch that into place. And at this point, you've gone through with the zipper foot about 3 or 4 times. So you should be starting to feel a little bit of confidence as you sew this last pass through. Okay, so lining up with the edge of our foot and the edge of our fabric. Drop our presser foot, drop our needle, remove our first pin, and backstitch. If you see that your fabric begins to pucker anywhere, drop your needle, lift your foot, try to kind of massage that pucker flat, and then drop your presser foot again. And then you can resume stitching. It happens from time to time, and when we're dealing with so many layers here, it just makes it a little bit more likely that it's going to happen. All right, now when I open up my lining fabrics and my main fabrics, I can see that I've got both lining fabrics on one side and both main fabrics on the other side, which is exactly where I want it to be. Yay! Okay, now I've got to finish top stitching my opposite side down, and then I will be ready to assemble the ends and bottom of my bag. Remember that I'm changing my stitch length to 2.5 because now I know that everything's where I want it to be. So we're going to make this permanent. All right, open up my zipper, move it on down the line as best I can. You can see just how much more manhandling I have to do with a zipper than I do in most of my other sewing. So just be careful that you keep your foot off of the pedal anytime you are adjusting that zipper. Okay. Now, there's my outside, there's my inside. Now I can move on to the rest of my construction. I might take a moment just to trim all of these odds and ends, and just to maybe even trim some of this fabric that may be slightly offset from each other now before I move on to my next step. And then we'll be with you with the next video.